Here is the complete rewritten S-258 story, preserving the original plot while strengthening the hook, escalation, climax, accountability, and healing. My granddaughter set her phone on my kitchen table and said, "Grandpa, I don't think Mom knows I can still see the family chat." She was 16, old enough to understand when adults were being cruel, and young enough to wish she did not. I looked at the screen. Oriana had written, "Just smile, eat his food, and leave by 7." A little farther up, she had called me a guilt trap. Then I saw the line that hurt most. "Valen is Skyler's problem to manage, not mine." My son had read every word. He had not answered once. "If your kindness has ever been mistaken for an obligation, stay with me." My name is Valen Lockwood. I am 68 years old, a retired electrician, and I live in Dayton, Ohio, in the same two-story house where my wife Faye and I raised our children. Faye died 6 years ago. The porch chair out front is one I built myself when my hands were steadier. I cut the boards in the garage on a Saturday while Faye stood in the doorway, telling me I was making it too wide. She was right. It came out wide enough for two, which was probably the point, even if I never said so. I sat in that chair most mornings for 11 years. Coffee before work, grocery lists, weather. The kind of small conversations you think will keep happening, because they happened yesterday. After she died, I kept sitting there alone. Her vegetable garden was beside the driveway. 3 raised beds, 2 rusted tomato cages, mint that had spread farther than she ever intended. I had not planted anything since the summer she got sick. Every spring I told myself I would clear it out. Every spring I left it alone. Moving the cages felt too much like admitting she was not coming back to use them. I have 2 children. Patricia lives 40 minutes east and calls every Sunday whether she has news or not. Skyler lives across town and calls when he needs something. That is not completely fair, but it is close enough to true that I am going to leave it there. After Faye died, Thanksgiving became mine to hold together. I bought the ham, ironed the tablecloth, used her dishes with the little blue flowers, and set out the card box she kept in the kitchen drawer. Faye gave me a Thanksgiving card every year. The one I read most often said, "To my patient man, thank you for always setting the table, even when I told you I would do it." For a long time, I believed patience was one of the better things about me. I did not understand how easily other people can turn patience into permission. The first Thanksgiving Oriana made difficult. I blamed her personality. Some people like control. You work around them. She and Skyler arrived an hour late. Patricia was already there with her children and a pan of sweet potatoes. The ham had been in since morning. The house smelled the way it had when Faye was alive. Oriana walked into the kitchen, lifted the lid from the roasting pan, looked at the ham, and let the lid fall. The clank carried into the dining room. "We don't eat ham," she said. "I have made ham for Thanksgiving since Skyler was a boy. Skyler told you the children don't eat pork." I looked at him. He looked at the floor. "Dad, it is not that hard," he said. "Just do what Oriana asks." "Why do you always make things difficult?" I turned back to the stove. I was not going to argue in front of my grandchildren. That became my reason for most things. Later, the children opened gifts in the living room. I had spent 3 weekends choosing books, puzzles, and 2 small science kits. Oriana turned one package over in her hands. "These are dollar store toys, Valen." Sophie was 12 then. She looked at the gift, then at me. Her face changed in the quiet way children's faces change when they realize adults can humiliate each other. "I picked those myself," I said. "I am just saying." The kids notice. Skyler was staring at his phone. I went to the kitchen and ran water over a plate that was already clean. The next Thanksgiving, Skyler called me a week before dinner. I was in the garage, feeding wire through a short length of conduit for no good reason, except that I missed working with my hands. "Dad, we are short this month. Could you lend us $2,000? "I do not have $2,000 sitting around. I am on a fixed income." "What about Mom's life insurance?" "You never touched that." I ended the call before I decided to. Faye's gardening gloves still hung from the pegboard. The fingers had gone stiff. I picked up the conduit and held it for a long time. At dinner that year, Skyler barely spoke. He looked at his phone while Patricia talked about her daughter's school play. After everybody left, I washed the dishes and tried to work out what I had done wrong. That was one of my worst habits. I treated every wound like a wiring fault hidden somewhere inside me. The third Thanksgiving began months before the table was set. Ariana texted one afternoon and asked me to pick up Cooper from school. He was 8 and serious about sharks. Hammerheads were his favorite because, as he explained, their eyes let them see almost everything around them. I drove to the school, signed in, and gave the woman at the front desk my name. She searched the computer. Then she searched again. "Mr. Lockwood, you are not on the approved pickup list. I have picked him up since kindergarten. I recognize you, but I cannot release him without a parent's confirmation." Cooper had already come into the office. He stood beside the counter with his backpack half open and a picture of a shark in his hand. "Grandpa?" "Everything is fine," I told him. The woman called Oriana. I stood there while the phone rang. Oriana answered on the 4th try. The clerk explained that I was waiting and needed one-time permission. There are few things more humiliating than asking permission to do a favor somebody requested. Oriana approved the pickup. The clerk printed a copy of the contact page after I asked what had changed. Oriana's mother was listed where my name had been. She lived in Cincinnati and had seen the children perhaps 5 times in 3 years. Cooper and I walked to my truck. He told me hammerheads could detect electrical signals from fish buried under sand. I said that was something. He asked if we could have macaroni and cheese. I said yes. He did not notice that anything was wrong. That was the right outcome. It was also lonely. At home, I placed the form in the kitchen drawer beside Faye's cards. I told myself paperwork got updated. People made mistakes. Maybe Oriana had needed her mother listed for a particular reason and had forgotten to add me back. I wanted that explanation badly enough to leave it alone. 2 months later, Sophie brought me the truth. She came over on a Saturday 2 weeks before Thanksgiving. Skyler dropped her off without coming to the door. Sophie was 16 by then. Serious like Faye. She read ingredient labels, corrected adults when they repeated bad information, and asked questions after most people had decided a conversation was finished. We made grilled cheese and watched half a documentary about migratory birds. When the birds reached Louisiana, she muted the television. "Grandpa, can I show you something?" She placed her phone on the table and opened a group chat labeled Family. I do not think Mom knows I still have access. She added me last year for vacation pictures and never removed me. "You do not have to show me anything that will get you in trouble. I know." She looked toward the backyard. "I think you should know before Thanksgiving." The newest message was from Oriana. "Just smile, eat his food, and leave by 7. If he starts talking about Grandma Faye, Skyler can redirect him." I read it once, then again. Sophie scrolled carefully. The ordinary messages made the others worse. Grocery lists, school times, a photograph of a broken dishwasher. Then "I don't know why we keep doing this every year. It is always such a production." Skyler had read it. No reply. A month later. "He is never going to change. He is a guilt trap and you know it." Skyler had read that one too. No reply. Then the line Sophie had been afraid to show me. "I already told my mother she might need to come down for Thanksgiving if Valen makes things difficult. He is Skyler's problem to manage, not mine." Under it was the small read marker. Skyler had seen the message 12 minutes after she sent it. Nothing. Sophie watched my face. "I am sorry. You did not write it." I laughed at something Mom said once. About the presents. I did not think it was funny. I just did not want her to look at me the way she was looking at you. That was more honesty than any adult had offered me. "Thank you for showing me. Are you going to tell Dad I did?" "No." She looked relieved and ashamed at the same time. I turned the phone face down. "Does Cooper know about the chat?" "No. Dylan does not either. Keep it that way." I did not want children recruited into adult failures. Sophie had my name on it. Sophie had carried enough. We finished the documentary without watching much of it. When Skyler pulled up, Sophie hugged me at the door. She had not done that in months. I watched the car leave, then sat in the wide porch chair and looked at Faye's dead garden until the cold worked through my shirt. People do not always take from you all at once. Sometimes they train you to hand things over. A meal, a favor, a holiday, your silence. The worst part is not when you finally see the pattern. It is realizing how long you helped keep it going. The following Monday, I called Cooper's school. I asked for the records clerk and explained that I wanted to know when my name had been removed. She called back that afternoon. Mr. Lockwood, the change was submitted 6 months ago through the parent portal. Mrs. Oriana Lockwood removed you as emergency contact and pickup contact. Mr. Skyler Lockwood approved the update electronically. Skyler had not merely stayed silent. He had clicked yes. Has anyone asked to change it again? There is a pending request from last week. Mrs. Lockwood asked to restore you as an approved pickup contact. Emergency contact too? No, sir. Pickup only. Mr. Lockwood has not approved the request yet. I wrote the words on the back of an envelope, pickup only. They did not want me trusted in an emergency. They wanted me available when a child needed a ride. Could you send me a written copy of the change history? As a former contact, I cannot release the full student record. But I can confirm your removal and the pending request in writing if both parents consent. Do not contact them because of me. There was a pause. I can send you a general confirmation that your access ended 6 months ago and that no active pickup authorization exists. It will not name who made the request. That is enough. The letter came by email 20 minutes later. I printed it and placed it with the form from October. That same afternoon, Oriana sent her Thanksgiving instructions. Hi Valen. Just touching base about Thursday. The children want turkey breast this year, not ham. Cooper needs macaroni and cheese and will not eat green beans. Please get the good bakery rolls from Whole Foods, not store brand. Sophie and Dylan have been asking for wireless earbuds. Nothing expensive. It would mean a lot to them. I read the message in the garage. Then I went into the kitchen and opened the refrigerator. The ham sat on the second shelf. 8 pounds, bone in, bought on sale 4 days earlier. I opened my wallet. 2 20s, a 10, 2 ones, $52 until the 3rd of December. The Whole Foods rolls cost nearly $10. Turkey breast would cost more than the ham already in my refrigerator. Even inexpensive earbuds for 3 children would take more money than I had. I began typing. I already bought the ham. I stopped. The group chat was still in my mind. Just smile, eat his food, and leave by 7. I deleted the unfinished reply. Skyler called 15 minutes later. Did you get Oriana's text? I got it. She is trying to make the day nice for the kids. I already bought the ham. A pause. Dad, it is one meal. Why turn it into a thing? I did not turn it into anything. You know how she is about holidays. There it was again. You know how she is. For years that sentence had meant, please absorb this so I do not have to deal with it. I have $52. Until next month, I said. He went quiet. You do not need to buy expensive earbuds. She asked for 3 pairs. She probably meant later. She wrote Thanksgiving. Another pause. I can send you some money. I looked at the school letter on the table. Money was not the point. He knew that. I knew that. I will think about dinner, Dad. I said I will think about it. We ended the call. A minute later, he texted, Thanks, Dad. I knew you would not make this difficult. I stared at the message. I had not agreed to anything. He had converted my pause into permission before I even set the phone down. That was the moment my decision became clear. I called Patricia. She answered on the second ring. I told her about the school form, the group chat, the Thanksgiving list, the $52. For a while, all I heard was her breathing. Dad, come to my house. No, you should not be alone. I am not going to be. Who is coming? You, if you want to. She understood before I explained. You are not opening the door for them. No. Do they know? Not yet. She did not tell me to be the bigger person. She did not tell me to think of the children. She said, what should I bring? Sweet potatoes. I will be there at 4 or. After we hung up, I went next door. Ray was changing the wiper blades on his car. He had lived beside us for 18 years and had never once asked a question he did not need answered. I am having a small Thanksgiving dinner, I said. 5 o'clock, he looked up. Need rolls? Yes, I will bring rolls. That was all. Thanksgiving was 12 days away. During those 12 days, I changed nothing in the house. I did not buy turkey. I did not drive to Whole Foods. I did not buy earbuds. I ironed Faye's tablecloth. I polished the blue flowered dishes. I took out the card that said to my patient man and placed it in the center of the table beneath a small glass bowl. I bought no extra chairs. The morning before Thanksgiving, Skyler called. Ariana wants to know whether you got the turkey breast. I did not, Dad. I already had the ham. What about the rolls? Ray is bringing rolls. Who is Ray? My neighbor. Why is your neighbor coming? Because I invited him. There was a long silence. Patricia coming too? Yes, okay. So this is some kind of statement. It is dinner. You could have told us you were changing the plans. I did not change my plans. He lowered his voice. Do not punish the kids because you are upset with Oriana. I am not punishing anyone. Then what are you doing? I looked at Faye's card. Stopping. Stopping what? I will explain when you are ready to listen. He exhaled hard. We will be there around 5:30. I did not invite you. He went silent. I heard a chair move on his end. What does that mean? It means what it sounds like. Dad, this is Thanksgiving. I know. The kids expect to see you. I was removed from Cooper's emergency contact list 6 months ago. Another silence. This one felt different. Who told you that? The school. Oriana handled the form. I just approved what she sent. You approved removing me. I did not read every field, but you approved it, Dad. This is exactly what I mean. You take one thing and turn it into a judgment on our whole family. No. I took 3 years and finally stopped calling it one thing. He did not answer. We are coming, he said at last. I cannot stop you from driving here. Then I ended the call. My hands shook afterward. Boundaries sound calm when you repeat them later. Living through one can feel like stepping off a roof and trusting the ladder is still there. Thanksgiving morning, I woke at 6. The ham went into the oven at 7:30. I made macaroni and cheese because Patricia's youngest liked it, not because Oriana had ordered it. I cooked green beans with onions and butter. Patricia brought sweet potatoes. Ray arrived with ordinary grocery store rolls in a paper bag and a bottle of sparkling cider, he said. Had been in his pantry since New Year's. The house smelled right. Patricia's children helped light the candles. Ray straightened one fork without mentioning that I had placed it on the wrong side. We sat down just after 5. For half an hour, dinner was ordinary. That felt almost luxurious. At 6:20, my phone buzzed. Dad, traffic is bad on 75. Be there soon. I set the phone face down. Patricia watched me. I passed Ray the bread basket. At 6:30, a car stopped at the curb. The engine remained running. Through the front window, I could see exhaust in the cold air. The children were in the back seat, coats on, heater running. Skyler and Oriana came up the walk. The first knock was firm. Then Oriana's voice. Traffic was awful. I told Skyler we should have left earlier. She tried the handle. It was locked. Another knock. My phone buzzed. Dad, we are here. I went into the dark living room and stood beside the curtain. Skyler had his hands in his jacket pockets. Oriana held a paper shopping bag, probably the rolls she had wanted me to buy. The children were warm in the car. That mattered. Patricia came behind me and placed one hand on my shoulder. I typed. The children are warm. Take them home. This door will open again when Oriana can speak to me directly about the group chat and when you can explain why silence was easier than defending your father. I pressed send. Skyler pulled out his phone. He read the message. Then he looked toward the window. For 1 second, I thought he could see me through the narrow gap. Oriana read over his shoulder. Her face changed. She hit the door with the flat of her hand. Valen, open this door. I did not move. This is ridiculous. We brought the children. Skyler said something low to her. She knocked again. You went through Sophie's phone? The accusation came through the wood. I typed one more message to Skyler. Sophie showed me because she believed I deserved the truth. Do not punish her for having more courage than the adults. His head dropped. Oriana kept talking. You are making a scene. Everyone is waiting. Nobody inside my house was waiting. That was the difference. I walked back to the dining room and sat down. The knocking continued. Patricia returned to her chair. Ray looked at the centerpiece. My granddaughter stared at her plate. I placed both hands on the table. I set this table for people who wanted to be here, I said. The food is getting cold. Let's eat, we did. The knocking stopped a few minutes later. Skyler's car remained at the curb for almost 20 minutes. Then the headlights came on and it pulled away. I watched none of it. Ray told me later. Dinner was not loud. Nobody gave a speech. Patricia's son talked about a teacher who wore 2 different shoes to school. Ray told us about walking 2 miles to his mother's house on Thanksgiving in 1987 after his car broke down. We laughed, not the careful laughter people use when somebody difficult is in the room. Real laughter. For the first time in 3 years, nobody at my Thanksgiving table was managing me. The next morning, Patricia sent me a screenshot of Oriana's Facebook post, a photograph of my dark front door, Catchbit. Some people would rather punish children than act like family. Sad, the comments underneath came from people I did not know. You deserve better. That is cruel. Keep those babies away from toxic people. I read them once. Nobody from my side of the family had reacted. Not Patricia, not my cousins, not Ray's daughter, who had known Faye most of her life. Silence can be cowardice. It can also be refusal. I put the phone down and made coffee. At 9:15, Cooper's school called. The records clerk sounded careful. Mr. Lockwood, Mrs. Oriana contacted us this morning. She asked whether your pickup access could be restored immediately. Emergency contact too? No, sir. Pickup only. The words landed exactly where the earlier ones had. Did she say why? She said the family needed backup transportation during the holiday season. Backup transportation. Not grandfather. Not family. Transportation, the clerk continued. Mr. Skyler has not approved the request. He called separately and asked for a copy of the previous change history. That surprised me. Can you tell me what he does with it? Not without permission, I understand. After the call, I sat at the kitchen table with Faye's card in front of me. To my patient man, for the first time, I did not read it as an instruction. Patience had never meant making myself available for people who refused to see me. I opened the Notes app on my phone and wrote to Skyler. I need you to read 3 things without explaining them away. First, you approved removing me from Cooper's emergency and pickup records 6 months ago. Last week, Ariana asked to restore me only as a pickup contact because she wanted backup transportation. You did not tell me any of this. Second, Sophie showed me the group chat. I saw what Ariana called me. I also saw that you read every message. Third, I have prepared Thanksgiving in this house for more than 30 years, including the years after your mother died when setting the table was the hardest part of the day. I did it because I believed we were sharing something. I will not continue doing it as a service for people who plan their exit before they arrive. I love you. I love the children. But I will not be managed. Do not send an apology through your wife. Do not send hers through you. If she wants to return to my home, she can speak to me herself. If you want a relationship with me, begin by telling the truth about what you chose. I read it twice. Then I sent it. Skyler replied 3 days later. Dad, I am sorry things got out of hand. I hope we can move forward. That was all. No group chat, no school form, no explanation. An apology with the center removed. I did not answer. Oriana deleted the Facebook post after Patricia commented beneath it. My father prepared dinner. You arrived after 6:30, even though he had already told Skyler you were not invited. The children remained warm in the car. Please stop using them to rewrite what happened. Oriana removed the post within 10 minutes. Patricia called me afterward. I hope that was all right. It was accurate. She called me. What did she say? That I was choosing sides. You did. Yes, Patricia said. I chose the person telling the truth. I thanked her. It felt strange to be defended without having to earn it, by first becoming smaller. A week after Thanksgiving, Sophie came over alone. Skyler dropped her at the curb but did not get out. She stood on the porch with her hands buried in the sleeves of her sweatshirt. Am I in trouble? Not with me. Mom took my phone for 2 days. I am sorry. She said I betrayed the family. I opened the door wider. Telling the truth about cruelty is not the same as causing it. She came inside. We made grilled cheese again. She asked whether I hated her mother. No, no. Are you going to forgive her? That depends on what she does with the truth. Sophie looked down at her plate. She says she was venting. People sometimes call it venting when they want their words to count only while nobody else hears them. Sophie nodded. Dad is mad at himself. Did he tell you that? No. He keeps reading the school papers. That was the first sign that my message had reached somewhere deeper than his phone. Skyler came 3 days later. Alone, he knocked. One time. Then waited. I watched him through the front window for almost a minute. He stood with a large envelope under one arm and no key in his hand. When I opened the door, he did not step forward. Can I come in? Why are you here? To tell you what I chose. I led him into the kitchen. He sat in the chair he had used as a teenager. Faye's pencil marks were still visible on the doorframe near the pantry, though the highest one had faded. Skyler placed the envelope on the table. Inside was a copy of the school record. The original change showed Oriana requesting that her mother replace me. Below it was Skyler's electronic approval. The new form listed me again as both emergency contact and approved pickup person, directly after Skyler and Oriana. A second page carried a note signed by the school administrator confirming the correction. I read it, then set it down. That form fixes a record, I said. It does not fix us, I know. Why did you approve the first change? He rubbed both hands over his face. Oriana said her mother felt excluded. She said, you had too much access and that we needed boundaries. Your boundary removed me and kept my labor. His eyes lowered. I did not think of it that way. You did not have to. I was the one standing in the school office, waiting for permission. He nodded. I read the form this time. That is a beginning. He looked at Faye's card. I read every message in the group chat. I know. I kept quiet because correcting Oriana meant bringing the fight into my house. I waited. He forced himself to look at me. I protected the peace in my house by spending yours. The words were close to what I had felt, but never said aloud. Yes, I told him. You did. His eyes filled. He blinked hard and looked away. I kept telling myself I was staying neutral. There is no neutral when one person is being cut down, and the other person is comfortable enough to watch. I know that now. Do you? He reached into the envelope and removed another sheet. It was a printed copy of the group chat. Next to each message Oriana had written, Skyler had marked the date he read it. At the bottom, he had written, I saw this. I chose silence. That choice hurt my father and taught my children that respect was optional when the person being hurt was patient. He signed his name. I did not know what to do with the page. It was not legal. It did not repair a holiday. It was the first full sentence of responsibility I had heard from him. Oriana knows you came. Yes, what did she say? That I was humiliating her. And what did you say? That being embarrassed by the truth is not the same as being humiliated. I looked at him. That sounded like the son I remembered. Not enough to erase the man he had become. Enough to remind me both were still there. Is she going to call me? I told her she has to decide that herself. I will not carry her apology here. Good, he sat quietly. Then he said, Can I have coffee? I almost said no, not to punish him, because coffee would have felt normal, and normal had been one of the disguises we used for years. I looked at the corrected school form. 1 cup, I made coffee. We drank it at the kitchen table. He did not ask when he could return for Christmas. He did not ask me to invite Oriana. He did not ask me to reassure him that everything would be all right. Before he left, he stood at the door. Can I call you Sunday? You can call. Will you answer? That depends on whether I am home. He accepted that. He stepped onto the porch, then turned, Dad, yes, I should have defended you the first time. Yes, he nodded and left. I did not forgive him on the porch. That is not how healing works. But I watched him walk to his car without feeling the door close inside me. Oriana did not call for another month. When she finally did, her first sentence was not an apology. I do not think you understand how stressful holidays are for mothers. I almost ended the call. Then she stuck herself up. No. That is not why I called. I waited. I wrote those things. I removed you from the school list. I wanted my mother first, but I still wanted you available when I needed help. That was unfair. It was more honest than I expected. You called me a problem to manage. I did. And a guilt trap? Yes, why? She took a breath. Because you made me feel watched. I barely spoke at those dinners. That was part of it. Your silence made me think you were judging me. I was trying not to argue in front of the children. I know that now. The line went quiet. I am sorry, she said. Not because Thanksgiving went badly. Because I treated your patience like proof that I could keep pushing. That was the right apology. It did not create an automatic invitation. I hear you. Can we come over? No. The word surprised both of us. Not yet, I added. You and I can meet for coffee somewhere public. No children, no Skyler speaking for either of us. She was quiet. All right. We met at a diner near Patterson Road. She arrived on time. For 40 minutes. Neither of us pretended the damage was a misunderstanding. She told me she had resented how much the children loved Faye's traditions, even though Faye had been gone before Dylan could remember her. She felt like she was competing with a woman nobody criticized. I told her I had made too much room for disrespect because I was afraid losing access to the children would feel like losing Faye again. Neither explanation excused anything. They made the truth less flat. When we left, I did not hug her. She did not ask. That mattered. Christmas was at Patricia's house. Skyler came with the children for 2 hours. Oriana did not come. She said she was not ready to sit in a room where she knew everybody had heard what happened. I did not tell her to come anyway. Consequences do not always need to be assigned. Sometimes they are simply the shape left by what a person did. Skyler brought no gifts for me. He brought a small pot of dark soil and 2 packets of tomato seeds. Early girl, Roma, Mom used to plant those, he said. She did. I thought maybe we could start them in spring, maybe. He nodded. We left the word where it was, by March. The ground behind my house had softened enough to work. I took the tomato cages out of the garden and laid them on the grass. Rust flaked onto my gloves. Ray came over with a hand cultivator. Patricia brought coffee. Skyler arrived 10 minutes later with no announcement and no children. He stood beside the garden bed. Tell me what to do. I pointed to the far corner. Turn the soil. Do not throw out every root you find. Some of them belong to the mint. He knelt and began working. We did not discuss Thanksgiving. We did not discuss the group chat. We did not need to force every truth into every quiet moment. After an hour, the top layer of pale, hard dirt had broken open. Darker soil showed beneath it. We mixed in compost and pulled the worst of the dead roots. Skyler found one of Faye's old plant markers near the fence. The writing had faded, but I knew what it said. Roma. He wiped it on his jeans and handed it to me. Keep it, I said. He pressed it into the turned earth. Oriana still had not entered my house. Sophie came by twice a month. Cooper called to tell me shark facts. Dylan sent me a drawing of the porch chair with 2 people sitting in it, though one person looked more like a lamp. My name remained on the school form. That did not make me useful again. It made the record accurate. There is a difference. Skyler called most Sundays. Sometimes I answered. Sometimes I was in the garage or at Patricia's or simply not ready to talk. He stopped treating access to me like something guaranteed, none guaranteed. That helped more than any promise. When the last section of garden had been turned, I sat on the edge of the raised bed and looked at the dark soil. Nothing was growing yet. There was no harvest to point to. No proof that the seeds would take. The ground had not healed. It had only been opened, loosened, and made ready to hold something new. So had I. Faye used to say, tomatoes needed patience. She never said patience meant leaving every gate open. Thank you for staying with Valen's story. Would you have opened the door after Skyler returned with the corrected form, or made him wait longer? Tell me where you would have drawn the line. This story uses fictionalized characters and recreated events for storytelling and reflection. Names, details, and circumstances have been adapted.